Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are in the world today, I hope that you and your loved ones are doing great. And most importantly, I hope that you are in good health. Once again, welcome to the Common Sense channel. On this channel, we get to talk about those things that people know, that people have thought about, but don't often have the time to discuss. These, my friends, are the things we talk about here on the Common Sense channel. So today I'm going to be talking or discussing on the subject or making the case for why men don't live too long and oftentimes women outlive them. Before the advent of religion, our society was pure, our society was innocent, and our society was just. Looking from the African viewpoint, from an African agrarian society, what does that mean? A society that's based on agricultural. So money was not introduced into this kind of culture because it was always about farming, producing, and maybe battering, selling them for other things like goods and services. That was our society. You understand? And it was pure. Men were allowed to marry 3, 4, 5, as many wives as they are able to. This was the African culture, not religion or anything like that. This was predating Islam, because most people they associate multiple wives with Islam. Islam is not the first. This is an African thing, an African culture. If all human race derived from Africa, then that's where it came from. So in our society, we used to do that. And the reason why African men were getting married or could have 3, 4 wives, 6 wives, whatever they can, was because of farming. You understand? And marrying 2, 3, 4 wives is a good thing too. You don't know it, but it's a good thing. But our society make it look like it's bad. You understand? That's what Africa used to be. So, when a man in the African society that has 3, 4, 5 wives, if for instance, I'm going to bring this into our day, into our time, into our era, so you start to understand how great this is when you can have 3, 4, 5 wives. So when the first wife has kid, the other wives, and by the way, all of them agrees. That's how it is. Sometimes a woman would decide to introduce her sister. Sometimes she would introduce her friend, her best friend, to that man for marriage. So at the end of the day, there were no single women in that village or town because they all had their husbands. You understand? And in our society, which was better, if you want to understand this, you need to read Things Fall Apart. But Chinua Achebe, you will see when Okonkwo is talking about his society before the advent of the Europeans or Christianity or whatever. But yeah, that's what it used to be. And then one of the women, all of these women in the home, they all had their own role that they play. So there's a woman there that would take care of the kids, nurture them, and there's another woman there that would help with the farming, and there's another woman that would sell the produce, or sometimes all of them sell together. Once they harvest they harvest their crops, they will take them out to the marketplace and sell them. And guess what? When all of them cook whatever food they cook for their husband, They all bring all of the food together, and they ate, sat down, and they all ate together. The man is eating, and then he eats from all of the dishes, or the whatever food they all bring, he eats from all of them equally. He doesn't differentiate one from the other. And then guess what? Each of them had their own rooms. You understand? This was the African culture before the advent or the introduction of these two foreign religion. You understand? So he checked this out. So he would do that every night. Say there's 5 6 days in a week, right? 7 days in a week. So he would split his time between the women. You understand? But the thing is, you had to take care of them, and you have to take care of them equally. That was the African culture. So he would spend one night with another woman, and then he would spend another night with another woman. And then and then do it throughout the week. This was our culture. And all the women, the 5 women, 6 women, whatever number they were all happy together. He never had to go outside of that family structure because everything that he needed was there. So almost like he was a king, a petit king. And what that did to his psyche was it allows him to live longer. Just within the agrarian, when I say agrarian, agricultural, African, pre religious setting. So he is the center of their entire attention, but he divides his time and his energy amongst all of them equally. As if, say for instance, he decides to marry another wife, all 5 of those women have to agree. So when she comes in, there were no hatred, there were no malice, there were no argument. They all were together working towards the same goal. That, my friend, was the African society. So when Islam was the first to arrive in Africa by way of the Arabs. They were the first because the Arabs were like travelers. So wherever they went, they brought in their religion. So when they came, so as today, when people wage war, when they're waging war, they bring their religion too. So when the Arabs came to Africa, this is true, you can research it. Because for me, I talked to the old folks. And the old folks, when I was a little boy, I hung out a lot with the old folks, and they tell me stories of their own childhood and then things that were passed down to them. So when the Arabs came to Africa, they saw what the Africans were doing. And they were, it kind of intrigued them. You understand? That an African man was able to manage his home with all these women without having no conflict, without having no situation. They were all working together. Unity, and they were raising the children within that family structure. That was the African way. So when Islam came, the Africans were susceptible to it. Why? Because it didn't interfere with whatever they were doing. It didn't tell them that they couldn't get married to 3, 4, 5 wives. The only thing Islam asked for, that they pray 5 times a day and they read the Quran. Because I remember when I was a kid, they had the Quran on a tablet, and kids would take them to school because they didn't have the book, the Quran itself, the Quran, the little book. I know maybe today the kids have the Quran, the actual Quran. But when I was a kid, they had them on a tablet, and the kids would take them to school. And you had to pray 5 times a day. The Africans were already spiritual. So that wasn't, a problem. And whatever the Africans were doing as far as culture and tradition is concerned. Anyone who is a Muslim out there, you can agree with me. The Islam, the Arabs, they interfere with that. They were allowed to worship whatever they were doing and do their culture. It's true. You understand? And it was normal. As long as you pray 5 times a day, you are fine. You can marry 2, 3 wives because Islam actually allows that you can marry 2, 3 wives. So it's the same thing the Africans were practicing. It's the same thing Islam had in there. That as long as you treat them equally, it was okay. So from an agricultural society, then we start to move into where you're using money now to trade. Now you have to work. So that's where we are. So men in the agrarian society, agricultural society, were living longer that way because they had all these women around them. It was not stressful because they're all working together. The men would go and he would farm the land. He'd do the hard work and they'll come in, put the seeds in, and then, they all work together. The children were there too to help with those things that, you know, like water, irrigation and stuff like that, bring water to plants. And then when it's time to harvest the crops, these women are on it. And then they will go out and do what they had to do. And then they sell the produce and they bring it home. At the end of the day, the man was not stressful. He wasn't stressed out. And then all he had to do was pay attention to them. He was able to settle issues that were, every family has issues. So he was able to do that and then do it wisely. You understand? So his life span would extend if he's not stressed out. He's not in a situation where he has to think about money, has to think about what he's going to eat the next day, what the kids are going to wear, what the kids are going to eat. He don't have to think about none of that because they're producing. Whatever they're producing is what they're eating. And whatever they're producing is what they're selling to get other things that they need. So you find that society was way better. So when Islam came in, and then when Christianity came in, everything the Africans were doing became a taboo. They started denigrating everything that the Africans were doing. They started saying that they shouldn't be married to 2 wives. They shouldn't be married. And that's why, if you notice, Islam spread throughout Africa. There are more Muslims in Africa than Christianity. True. If you look at those little small places in Africa, because some of them are states, countries, but they're small. But if you go, you see more the Muslim population in Nigeria alone. There are lots of Muslims, millions of Muslims in Nigeria, because what Islam did, Islam understood the African tradition. Christianity was like dominant, I don't like that religion. I'm going to say it. I don't like religion in general. But because of what Christianity did, even in things fall apart, when you read, you see. Okonkwo is talking about them. Chinua Achebe is talking about them. Things fall apart. When they came, they started demonizing our custom. They started demonizing our tradition. They started demonizing how many wives you can get. They just impose their will. And Yeshua HaMashiach himself never did that to none of them. Never imposed his teachings on anyone. You get it by free will. Say, in fact, if you preach, just leave it. Someone is going to do the rest for you. But when these people came in with religion, Christianity, and you still see them do it today, they're still doing the same thing. Everywhere they go, they impose their views on other people. Whether you like it or not, they're going to impose it, and that's not Jesus at all. And that's why some of us are rebelling against it. And I'm going to always talk about you until you stop. Be like Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiach. then the world is going to start talking about you because you're fake. All religion. But Islam, they don't be doing that. Islam, they back out. That's why I came from that background too. You understand? So when Christianity came, our society messed up. I'm going to tell you the reason. Christianity is the reason why men are dying. Because the entire laws just make men look miserable. So they came in a society that had a man could marry two, three wives and be stressless or have less stress and anxiety. They came in and said, now a man is supposed to have one wife. And men are not designed that way. So imagine. And in some countries, they were forced. Don't let them tell you they brought Christianity to Africa like how Jesus was talking in what the so-called Middle East. No. Or trying to teach them knowledge. No. They brought that thing to Africa, that religion, by force. And if you remember, they started doing the same thing in Europe. They were forcing everyone to be Christian. In Europe, some people are burned at stake. They don't want to talk about our history. They're killing their own European brothers and sisters that were protesting. Again, the entire religion was was spun out of protest because of what they were doing to them, the spreading of religion. And when it came to Africa, it wasn't different. So imagine if what they done in Europe during the Inquisition, if imagine what it did. Imagine what it would they done in Africa. You understand? But they tell you the missionaries came, they were teaching the people Jesus, and they even distorted an entire chapter in the Bible in their book of deception. You understand? I'm saying this because I'm getting to my point. So now society had to adhere to the new doctrine, which is a man is only allowed to marry to one woman. Our entire in this country is the same thing. They'll tell you it's polygamy, you know. You're not supposed to marry three wives. I'm not saying that I personally would do that. But I'm just saying using it as a reference, and not only that, to make my case for why women outlive men, or the reason why men die earlier than a woman. So now a man moved from having three, four wives the African way. Now he's adopting a new system that he is not used to, he's not programmed to. Now he has to accept it because he either accept it or he deemed as out of social norm. So everything they brought to Africa was foreign. So even up to this day, we're still worshiping foreign gods. The Africans, all that stuff you're doing, Christianity, all that, Islam, those are not our gods. Some of us we don't even know who our gods are. But those people that honor the ancestors know who their gods are, the gods of the Africans. I grew up when I was a little boy, I know who our gods are. Yeah. Ogun is one of them. Powerful. You understand? So I'm just saying these things so you can start to get some idea. So yeah, so the Africans had to be a monogamy, had to marry one wife. Now he marries one wife, says she has problem. How can he deal with that? Now he has to go outside of that relationship. In prior time, he didn't have to because he had everything. Now he's stressed out. Now he has to find a job. In the past, all these women were working together to help him out. So the stress level was less. Now he has kids. In the past, one or two of the women were designated to help raise the kids, and it would alternate different time to take care of the kids. Now it's him and the wife. The wife has to work. Now who take care of the kids? Now the kids is left alone. He comes home, he's tired. And then she's asking for more. But check this out. If he is in our society now, I'm not looking at the past, but in our society, say for instance, a man is allowed to marry 3, 4, 5 wives. Say they have a house, and the house is 5 bedrooms, right? Say, because the kids can sleep with their mom. All the women are gonna have kids, so they can manage things and make it work. They have a house, 5 bedrooms. He can still manage with them in our own day and age and be okay. They can be economically secure. How is that? Say all of those women are working. All of them have jobs. They bring in income. He brings in income. All of the income together would alleviate some of the stressor that man is going to go through. But if it's just him having to work 3, 4, 5 jobs, and then he comes home, he don't have time for nothing. And then she's asking for something. And if he can't provide, that's another issue. Or if he cannot satisfy her because he's tired from work, he's stressed out, that's another issue. So all of these factors are what making men age faster, is what creating health issues, is what's causing them stress and depression, and ultimately leading them to the early grave. And if you look at the population of our world today, there are more women on any given day. There are more women that are born than men. It's not easy to have a male child. You understand? And then you're going to have a world with more women and then less men. Who's going to marry to these women? So the ancient African, our ancestors, they figure out a way to solve some of those problems and make the woman give birth to children. So you have more children, because let me tell you, your internal life is the children that you give birth to. That's what's going to make you live eternal. I'm not going to talk about the spirit is in you, because that one is internal. But the more you give birth to the earth, and that's your seed as a man, it makes you eternal. Because say if it's your son is going to go on to give birth to have, not birth, your son or your daughter is going to give birth to a child, and that's part of your seed. And then your son is going to impregnate a woman, and then that's part of your seed. So at the end of the day, you're still going to be here. So you're eternal. You will never die, because anytime you add to the generation, to the earth, you bring another life into the earth, you're actually replicating yourself. That's why they're never going to tell you, these religious people, because they don't want you to know. You understand? So they're the ones that are creating all this problem. Economically, it's good to have 3, 4, 5 wives. And it alleviates stress. It makes you the man, the king. And not just to abuse them, because you're not, if you have 3, 4, 5 wives, do you think you're ever going to go looking out there for anything? And plus, if you decide to find another one, all the women are going to be in for it anyway. They're gonna be, because they want to bring in someone that's going to agree with them and work with them. They're not going to go bring in someone who's going to cause confusion. You understand? That's the olden days. And now the children are going to come out right, because these women are going to alternate to take care of the kids. You're not going to look when it's time for you to have dinner. Man, imagine you're getting bowl of rice from here, nice stew, and then you're getting the all cooking and bringing that. You're just sitting there, and they're treating you so well. Tell me if you won't live long, you know? And now when you have one wife, and if you're not good at spicing up things, imagine what's going to happen. Now you're going to be leaving the home to go out there. Guess what? You're taking money, income that's supposed to stay in that home. You are taking it out of that home. And then guess who's going to suffer? That lady that's in the home and the kids. They're the ones that are going to bear the blunt of what you're doing because you're not pleased in your home. But when you have everything in there, you, my friend, are not going to go looking for anything. That's what our ancestors were able to solve until these jokers came with a religion. And let me tell you, the kings and these royal families, do you think the queen was the only one that the king was having dun with? No, he was doing it with. If he's not doing it with other women in there, if he was not doing it with her, he was doing it with the queen. Now, if he wasn't doing it with the queen, he was doing it with the queen aides or the maids that were taking care of the queen, and that would never come out. You understand? They talk about Abraham. Abraham had 2 wives, or maybe 3 or 4, but they only told you of one. You believe that? That was the practice of all cultures on the planet. All of them were doing it. Whether you go to Southeast Asia, you go to South America, you go to Europe, you go to Africa, they were doing it. I'm not going to talk about the Roman Empire. You understand? But when this organized religion called Christianity and Islam understood the African thing because they still practice that today. You understand? So sometimes that's why most people don't spend that much time talking about Islam. Because Islam understood not to mess with anyone's culture. Did you know that there are more Chinese that are Muslims? Why is it the Chinese don't even take on other people's religion, but there are more Muslims that are Chinese? There are Chinese that are Muslim than Christians. Why is that? Because Islam don't be messing with other people's culture or their practices, their tradition and the practice, their custom. They don't. They let you do what you want to do. The only thing is you have to pray 5 times a day. Understand? And you have to read the Quran. You have to know it. They're big on reciting the Quran. Christianity is the opposite. And that's why you look at Christianity today is failing. And it's not only the opposite, there are a bunch of hypocrites in there. That's always been the problem. Even before the Reformation, that was the problem of Christianity because it's fake. It's fake. None of them can defend that stuff. Jesus is not involved in it. Jesus is not the founder of Christianity. Never. Look at Paul's writing. Look at Peter's writing. Look at all the true, if they did exist now. Look at all of their writings. The author that wrote those books, John, Peter, James, all those books of the actual apostles of Jesus or disciples. I like to say disciples because Jesus never thought about apostle. Apostle, that's Paul. If you look at the writing, it doesn't mention anything about Christianity in there. It's just a message. You understand? So yes, Christianity messed up our world. And they know it. Look at how you going to go tell a man not to. A man is designed to procreate. A man is designed to procreate. Now it's coming out that Jesus had a wife. Jesus had a family. You understand? And this is not biblical History is history itself, not biblical thing or religious study. This is history. So you understand? So all these things, you're gonna let a man not married. So you see, right? So what is he gonna do? He's designed to procreate. And you tell him, hey, if you wanna don't get married because Jesus didn't marry. And they don't practice Jesus. None of the teachings that Jesus talked about, they're practicing. It's the opposite, by the way, if you ask me. So yeah, that's the reason why men are where we are today. You understand? Both men and women are very essential to this whole ecosystem, you know? So if you want to keep a world where human beings are continue to multiply, eh? I'm telling you, if you want men to live longer or not be too stressed out like we are today. Some of us have gray hair that we're not even supposed to have. You know why people have gray hair? Because of stress. Some people are not even older. They have gray hair. Sometimes it's genetic, but majority of the time it's stress. That's the reason why people are aging faster. Stress, especially men. And the more stress you have, the more it's messing with your health. It's causing depression, and now it's triggering things in your body that you don't even know happening to you, all because of stupid ideology telling people a man should be able to have 3 4 wives if he can handle them and make them happy. You understand? That's the goal. Make them happy. Then that way you don't need to go look outside for a side chick. You don't need to go running after little girls, You see? And they'll make your bed, Imagine you alone. You know what I mean? You alone. Monday, you in that room with her. It's all for her. And then Tuesday, you go to the other one. It's all for her. And then Wednesday, it's go to the other one. It's all for her. Thursday, you in the other lady's place, bed, in the other lady's bed. It's all for her. Friday, man, gosh, tell me, if who wouldn't want a life like that? And in this country, you can make that happen, although they don't like that. They say you have to be. Imagine if God can come from whatever, for the sake of my video again. Imagine if God can come from heaven and say, where you got that from? I didn't tell you that a man should be married to one woman. That's why that whole Adam and Eve story right there, we need to reevaluate that thing. Yeah, I don't think so. I think Adam had more than one wife. It wasn't just Eve. I heard her name was Lilith too, you know? Yeah. So all these things, they're not going to hide. They're going to come out someday. But we are just spitting it out for now because we're touching you. You liar. You are a liar. And according to your book, or you organized religion, you need to leave humanity alone, especially us men, But imagine what I would do. And now he don't have to worry because Lisa works, Julie works, Mary works, Agnes works, Maria works, and all of them are bringing an income together. You can rent, you can buy a mansion if you want. And you wouldn't have to be worried about nothing because everyone is working. That's in our day and age. Because in the olden days, the Africans, they figured out this thing. And when these jokers came, look at the society today. They are complaining not having babies today. Why? You're going to go team up with a woman that her entire womb is already screwed up. And now you're there, you're depressed. You don't have no kids. Nobody can call you your dad. You come to the house, you're sad. Because society say you have to be with her. None of that problem was in African culture. or in our society. The women didn't have problem with having kids because we had solution. African society has solution for that. It wasn't, you don't have to go see a fertility doctor. Africans knew how to take care of that situation, and the woman would give birth because they knew it's human beings that run this thing. Kids, they grow up to become an adult and they keep on the legacy. So you don't have to worry about that. So let's rethink. Let's rethink. God didn't say nothing. God, did you say something? Did you say a man should be with one wife? Did you? If you are human characteristics, I'm calling you you. But I always say Almighty or the Great Spirit. But did you say something to these people? Nothing. You said nothing. They're the ones screwing up society with their organized religion. So that's why men are not living longer. Because men are designed to be with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wives. We are designed that way. You understand? I'm with one. I'm okay with it because I spice things. I don't keep it the same. You understand? But if I was given the opportunity, though, I will. As long as she's okay with it. If she's okay with it, yes. But if I was, imagine 2, 3 women in a home. The kids are not going to go astray. So it's your economics is what it took away. Because you and that other lady, you won't be able to take care of all that things. It's just too much. But if you have another woman in the home, another woman in the home, 3 of you, 4 of you, that's a great family. You understand? But when you live in countries like this, like these so-called Christian, Judeo-Christian countries, they don't even live by what they preach. That's my own issue I have with them. They don't live by what they preach. They say practice what you preach, but they don't. And they just want you to sit there and be quiet. You know, and that Jesus says the same. Jesus says, it says the great masters, the great one. He said, by their fruit we shall know them. See how profound that is. By their fruit we shall know them. So there are these men that are married to one woman. Guess what? They sneak out and go to their side chick. Why do you? Africans knew that. It's like, why do you have to? You don't have to do that. You're a free man. Get your side chick in the house. Get 2, 3 of them. And then when Islam came, they saw what the Africans were doing and they adopted it. The Africans were okay. Once you're not into, because what makes a man is how he runs his home. If whatever you're doing in your home, if no one is interfering with it, you're not gonna bother. You're not gonna have no issue with them. But when people start to come into your home, just like our society today, when the government can tell you who you can get married to, how you can run your life, if something should happen to you, who can step in to be your next of kin, who can take over your will, that's too invasive. You understand? And when Islam came, you want to keep your 5 wife? Fine. Whatever you do with it, just don't put a hand on her. Treat her the same way the Quran says. Treat her equally. Let her feel like she's part of you. Let her feel like she's important. But when they they don't know that in Islam, there are different sets of Islam, just like Christianity too. They just lump all of them into the same thing. And I'm not making case for anyone, but I'm just saying, whatever Islam is doing, the Africans were doing that before they came into Africa. Our ancestors figure out a way to solve that problem. So I just want to do this video today because Most of the time, you only see this in statistic that women, there are more widowers out there. We can't even solve the problem of more women without men. There are a lot of single women in this world right now, in this country, across the globe, too, all because of this nonsense laws. You understand? And then the more it's they're doing, the more the laws are out there, more and more men are getting older. Why do you think chiefs in most villages live longer? Because some chief has three, four, five, six wives, seven wives, some have 10 wives. Imagine what that does to you. Imagine what it does to you. It makes you live longer. Anyway, I just want to end my this video right here, just making the case for why men don't live longer and for why women outlived men. Women often outlive men. You understand? It's because of all the things men has to put up with just to continue to keep a family going. And women don't have to, and they shouldn't have to. That's why men exit this world sooner than women. For I want to thank all those people that continue to support my work, watch my videos. I want to thank you. I want to honor you. And as always, the greatest thing that can ever happen to anyone is not the day you were born, not the day you had your first job, the day you had your first kid, the day you graduated from high school, college, the day you became a lawyer, doctor, none of that stuff. The greatest thing, my friend, that can ever happen to you is the day you discover yourself. Because from that day on, everything, everything, my friend, will start to make sense to you. I want to thank you once again. And I hope that you and your family are in good health. Thank you. Thank you.